Ladies and gentlemen, a woman who understands her worth never needs to chase, beg, or convince a man to love her. She is not a desperate seeker of attention, nor is she controlled by the fear of being alone. She knows who she is, and because of that, she stands firm. When a woman embraces detachment, she steps into a realm of power that men cannot ignore. Detachment is not coldness, it is confidence. It is the ability to walk away from anything that does not align with her value. A woman who is emotionally independent does not crumble under rejection because she understands that rejection is simply redirection towards something better. And men, they are drawn to this energy like a magnet. They respect what they cannot control and they chase what they fear losing. When a woman stops over-explaining, stops seeking approval, and stops making excuses for a man's lack of effort, everything shifts. She no longer invests in words. She moves based on actions. She observes, she discerns, she does not tolerate inconsistency. And because of that, men realize they must step up or step aside. She does not force love. She lets love find her. Men desire a woman who is not always available, not always waiting, and not always adjusting her life to fit theirs. Why? Because scarcity breeds value. The less available something is, the more it is wanted. When a woman makes herself the priority, her presence becomes a privilege, not an expectation. She doesn't just give her energy away. She decides who is worthy of experiencing her. A woman of detachment does not make emotional decisions. She makes wise ones. She is not controlled by feelings, nor is she swayed by temporary pleasures. She moves with purpose, she walks with clarity, and she operates with standards that are non-negotiable. A man cannot play with a woman who knows her worth because she does not participate in games. And here's the greatest truth. She does not wait to be chosen. She does the choosing. She does not wait for a man to define her life. She defines it herself. She does not need to convince anyone of her value. She embodies it every single day, and that is why men can't resist her. Because she is the rarest kind of woman, the kind who knows that her greatest power is knowing when to walk away. A woman who knows her worth never chases because she understands that love, respect, and commitment are not things that need to be begged for. She carries herself with a quiet confidence that speaks louder than words. She does not pursue, plead, or lower herself to gain anyone's attention because she knows that anything forced is never truly meant for her. She operates from a place of abundance, not desperation. Her sense of self is not tied to whether someone chooses her, stays, or leaves. Instead, she stands firm in her identity, knowing that the right people will naturally be drawn to her energy. She values her time and does not waste it on relationships that require her to prove her worth. A man who is truly interested will step forward on his own without being pressured or manipulated. She understands that genuine connection flows effortlessly. And if she has to constantly fight for someone's attention, then she is fighting for something that is not truly hers. Her self-respect will not allow her to chase because she refuses to settle for anything less than what she deserves. Her aura is magnetic because she does not make herself overly available. She does not wait by the phone, she does not force conversations, and she does not rearrange her life to accommodate a man who has not yet proven himself. She remains focused on her growth, her purpose, and her joy. She does not sit around hoping to be chosen, she chooses. She recognizes that the right man will be drawn to her because of who she is, not because she pursued him. She embodies a presence that demands appreciation, not through words, but through the unwavering way she carries herself. Detachment commands respect because it signals strength, self-control, and an unshakable sense of self-worth. A woman who practices detachment does not operate from a place of fear or neediness. She moves with confidence, knowing that she does not have to hold on to anything or anyone that is not in alignment with her values. She is not desperate for validation, nor is she willing to compromise her standards just to keep someone in her life. This kind of woman naturally earns respect because she is not easily swayed by emotions or external circumstances. When a woman is detached, she does not overreact to situations or allow herself to be emotionally manipulated. She observes more than she responds, choosing wisdom over impulse. People respect her because they know she cannot be easily controlled. She does not entertain mind games, tolerate inconsistency, or engage in endless arguments to prove her worth. She understands that respect is not demanded, it is commanded. By the way she carries herself, her ability to remain calm and unaffected in situations that would normally cause distress makes others take her seriously. A detached woman sets clear boundaries and does not waver from them. She is not afraid to walk away when necessary, and that alone makes people think twice before mistreating her. Men in particular are drawn to this quality because they know she is not dependent on their attention to feel complete. The moment a woman stops seeking approval and starts valuing herself, the dynamic shifts. Instead of chasing, she becomes the one who is pursued. Instead of begging for respect, she naturally receives it. Her presence is powerful not because she demands it, but because she carries herself in a way that leaves no other option but to honor her. Emotional control is power because it allows a woman to navigate life with wisdom rather than reaction. A woman who masters her emotions cannot be easily manipulated, provoked, or thrown off balance. She understands that emotions are temporary, and making decisions based on fleeting feelings often leads to regret. Instead of responding impulsively, she pauses, reflects, and chooses her actions with intention. This ability sets her apart and commands respect because she does not allow others to dictate her state of mind. When a woman has emotional control, she is not swayed by every word, action, or inconsistency from others. She does not overreact when things don't go her way, nor does she crumble under pressure. She knows that reacting emotionally gives power to those who seek to control her. Instead, she remains composed, making it clear that she is not easily shaken. This makes people, especially men, admire her strength and stability. They recognize that she is different. A woman who cannot be played with or taken for granted. She does not let rejection, disrespect, or disappointment define her. Instead of begging for love or chasing validation, she moves on with grace. She understands that the right people will value her without her needing to convince them. By maintaining control over her emotions, she sets the standard for how she expects to be treated. She chooses peace over chaos, wisdom over impulse, and self-respect over desperation. This level of control makes her magnetic because men are naturally drawn to a woman who does not fall apart at the first sign of difficulty. She is strong, confident, and in command of her own life, qualities that make her irresistible and unforgettable. Scarcity increases attraction because people naturally desire what they cannot easily have. When a woman makes herself too available, her presence loses its value. But when she operates with a sense of exclusivity, when she is not always accessible, not always responding instantly, not always adjusting her life for others, she becomes more desirable. Men are wired to chase, to pursue, to work for something that feels rare. When a woman understands this, she stops overgiving and starts preserving her energy for those who truly appreciate. A woman who is scarce in her availability does not play hard to get. She is hard to get because she knows her worth. She does not constantly seek attention, nor does she base her self-esteem on how much time someone gives her. Instead, she focuses on her growth, her passions, and her own happiness. Her life is full with or without a man. This makes her irresistible because men admire a woman who does not revolve a world around them. They see her as a challenge, as someone who must be earned, not someone who is just given away freely. The principle of scarcity works in all areas of life. The more common something is, the less valuable it becomes. But when something is rare, it is seen as precious. A woman who understands this does not allow herself to be easily taken for granted. She does not over-explain, over-text, or overgive to someone who has not proven their worth. Instead, she allows her absence to create desire. Men respect what they have to work for. And the moment a woman stops making herself easily available, she becomes someone they cannot resist. Her presence becomes a privilege, not a guarantee. She operates with purpose because she understands that her time, energy, and presence are valuable. She does not drift through life, waiting for validation or direction from others. She moves with intention. Every decision she makes is aligned with her vision, her goals, and her self-respect. She is not easily distracted by empty relationships, meaningless conversations, or temporary emotions. She knows what she wants, and because of that, she does not settle for anything less than what aligns with her purpose. A woman with purpose is naturally magnetic. She does not chase because she is too busy building. She does not beg for love because she knows that the right people will recognize her value without her having to prove it. Men find this energy irresistible because she is not dependent on them for happiness. She has a mission greater than just being in a relationship. She is creating, evolving, and leaving an impact. This makes her stand out because she is not just another woman looking for attention. She is a woman who demands respect through her actions. She does not waste time on relationships that drain her, friendships that do not serve her, or situations that do not contribute to her growth. She chooses wisely, speaks with intention, and walks away from anything that does not align with her standards. Her focus makes her powerful, and that power makes her unforgettable. Men admire and respect a woman who operates with purpose because she does not give herself away easily. She is not moved by empty promises, sweet words, or fleeting emotions. She is moved by actions, consistency, and results. She leads her life with direction, and because of that, she attracts people who are also strong, driven, and worthy of her presence. Her boundaries are non-negotiable because she knows that the way she allows others to treat her is a direct reflection of how much she values herself. She does not bend her standards to accommodate people who bring inconsistency, disrespect, or half-hearted effort. She understands that setting boundaries is not about being difficult. It is about protecting her peace, energy, and self-worth. A woman who enforces her boundaries with confidence naturally earns the respect of those around her because people recognize that she cannot be manipulated or taken for granted. She does not tolerate emotional games, broken promises, or disrespectful behavior. If someone crosses the line, she does not explain repeatedly. She removes herself. She does not engage in endless debates or try to convince people to treat her right. She knows that if someone truly values her, they will respect her standards without her having to fight for them. A man quickly realizes that if he does not honor her boundaries, he will lose access to her presence. This creates an undeniable sense of respect because she is not like the majority who tolerate anything just to be loved. Her ability to say no without guilt is what makes her powerful. She does not let fear of being alone make her lower her standards. She would rather walk alone with dignity than stay in situations that compromise her values. Men admire this because deep down they know that a woman with strong boundaries is a woman who will never beg for love. She does not negotiate her worth, and because of that, the right man will step up, while the wrong ones will step aside. The strength is in knowing that her boundaries are not meant to control others. They are meant to protect the life she is building for herself. She chooses. She is not chosen because she understands that she is the prize, not an option. She does not sit around waiting for a man to pick her, validate her, or decide if she is worthy. She knows that the power lies in her own hands, the power to decide who deserves her time, energy, and love. She does not entertain just anyone who shows interest. She evaluates, observes, and discerns. She is selective because she values herself, and that makes her irresistible. A woman who chooses is confident in her ability to walk away from anything that does not align with her standards. She does not settle for breadcrumbs of attention or inconsistent affection. She moves with certainty, knowing that the right man will meet her at the level of respect she demands. She does not beg for effort, chase after love, or shrink herself to fit into someone else's life. Instead, she focuses on building a life so fulfilling that only the strongest, most capable man can add to it. Men cannot resist a woman who chooses because she exudes self-assurance. She does not ask, am I good enough for him? Instead, she asks, is he good enough for me? She does not compromise her values out of fear of being alone, nor does she accept less than she deserves just to say she has someone. She understands that relationships should be a reflection of mutual respect and admiration. She chooses because she knows that love is not about luck, it is about standards. And when a woman stops waiting to be chosen and starts making the choice herself, she becomes the one who is truly unforgettable. A woman who knows her worth never chases, never begs, and never settles. She understands that true power lies in detachment, in emotional control, in setting boundaries, and in choosing rather than waiting to be chosen. She does not force connections or cling to people who do not honor her presence. Instead, she walks with confidence, knowing that what is meant for her will never require her to compromise her dignity. Men are drawn to a woman who values herself because she becomes a rare force, one that cannot be ignored, manipulated, or taken for granted. The moment she stops seeking validation and starts embracing her own strength, the entire dynamic shifts. She no longer fights for love. She attracts it effortlessly. She no longer fears being alone. She thrives in her own presence. And because of that, she becomes the woman no man can resist. Her power is not in how much she gives, but in how wisely she chooses to give. The right man will recognize her value, rise to meet her standards, and cherish the gift of her presence. And the wrong ones, they will simply fall away. She does not lose. She only refines her circle, ensuring that only the worthy. Hello, everyone, and welcome back. I'm so grateful you have joined me today, and I can't wait to dive into something that has the power to change your life. A man's heart is not won by force. It is captured by presence, wisdom, and the silent power of a woman who knows her worth. When a woman understands her value, she does not chase love, she embodies it. She walks into a room and something about her speaks without words. It is the way she carries herself, the way she respects herself, and the way she does not settle for less than she deserves. That alone makes a man stop in his tracks and take notice. Men do not fall in love with a woman who begs for attention. They fall in love with the one who commands it through her essence. A woman who is emotionally mature, who understands her emotions but does not let them control her, becomes a force of attraction. She is not driven by fear or desperation, but by confidence and faith. And when a man sees that, he realizes she is different. A woman's power is not in trying to dominate a man, but in knowing how to complement him. There is something irresistible about a woman who allows a man to lead, yet stands firm in her own purpose. She does not suppress herself to make him comfortable, but she also does not challenge his masculinity. Instead, she moves with grace, knowing that true strength is not in competition, but in partnership. Mystery is the language of attraction. When a woman reveals herself too soon, there is nothing left to discover. But when she allows a man to pursue, to seek, to unravel the depths of who she is, he becomes invested. Men are wired to chase what they value, and when a woman understands this, she does not rush the process. She allows him to grow in his admiration for her over time. But admiration is not enough. A man may be drawn to beauty, but he stays where he is honored. Respect is the foundation of lasting love. A woman who respects a man's vision, who speaks life into his dreams rather than tearing them down, becomes a woman he cannot forget. Respect does not mean blind agreement. It means recognizing his strengths and supporting his purpose. Yet, a woman must never lose herself in the process of loving a man. Love should enhance, not erase. A man falls deeply in love with a woman who supports his growth, but also stands firm in her own identity. A woman who has her own vision, her own dreams, and her own calling is not a burden. She is an inspiration. And when a man finds such a woman, he knows he has found a treasure. But perhaps the deepest thing that pulls a man's heart faster than anything else is the sense of emotional safety. No matter how strong a man appears on the outside, he is still human. He faces battles, he carries burdens, and he longs for a place where he can lay down his armor. A woman who creates that safe space, a place where he is understood, where he can be himself without judgment, becomes the woman he cherishes for life. Men fall in love faster when they see a woman who is whole, confident, respectful, and emotionally secure. A woman who does not demand love but inspires it. She does not beg for attention but commands admiration. She does not rush the process but allows love to unfold in its perfect time. And when a man encounters such a woman, he does not just fall in love, he never wants to let her go. A woman who embraces her self-worth does not seek validation from others because she already knows her value. She understands that her worth is not defined by a man's attention, society's expectations, or the fleeting opinions of those around her. She walks with confidence, not arrogance, because she is secure in who she is. She does not lower her standards to fit into someone else's life. Instead, she attracts people who recognize and honor her worth. When a woman values herself, she does not chase love, she attracts it effortlessly. She is not desperate for affection because she knows she is already complete. She does not settle for relationships that diminish her spirit or compromise her dignity. She understands that love should elevate her, not diminish her essence. A man is drawn to this kind of woman because he sees her as a rare find, someone who cannot be easily swayed by superficial gestures or empty promises. She sets boundaries not out of fear, but out of self-respect. She does not allow disrespect, manipulation, or mistreatment to take root in her life. She knows that a man who truly values her will rise to meet her standards rather than expecting her to lower them. Her presence alone commands admiration because she carries herself with grace and assurance. She is not afraid to walk away from anything that does not align with her worth, knowing that true love will never require her to diminish herself. A man is captivated by a woman who knows she is enough, just as she is. She does not need to prove her worth, for it is evident in the way she moves, the way she speaks, and the way she treats herself. This quiet confidence is irresistible, making her unforgettable in the heart of the right man. A woman who demonstrates emotional maturity operates from a place of wisdom rather than impulsive reactions. She does not allow her emotions to control her decisions, but instead channels them with grace and understanding. She has learned that not every situation requires a reaction, and not every disagreement is a battle to be won. She listens before she speaks, seeks to understand before she responds, and chooses peace over unnecessary conflict. When challenges arise, she does not crumble under pressure or allow negativity to consume her. Instead, she remains composed, navigating difficulties with patience and discernment. She understands that life will not always go as planned, and rather than complaining or becoming bitter, she focuses on solutions. Her ability to remain steady in uncertain times makes her a source of strength and stability for those around her. A man finds this incredibly attractive because he sees in her someone who will not add unnecessary chaos to his life, but will instead bring balance and wisdom. She does not manipulate or play emotional games to get attention. She communicates her needs clearly and directly without resorting to passive aggressiveness or drama. She knows that real love is built on honesty and trust, not on fear or control. When something bothers her, she addresses it with maturity rather than resorting to emotional outbursts or silent treatment. Her strength lies in her ability to be both strong and vulnerable. She does not suppress her emotions, but she manages them with wisdom. She understands that expressing her feelings is not a sign of weakness, but of confidence. A man respects a woman who can handle conflicts with grace, support him without losing herself, and approach relationships with a mature and secure heart. This level of emotional stability makes her irreplaceable. A woman who exudes feminine strength does not need to overpower or dominate to prove her worth. Her strength is not in loudness, but in presence, not in control, but in influence. She carries herself with quiet confidence, knowing that true power is not about forcing her way, but about inspiring respect through her character and grace. She does not compete with a man's masculinity. Instead, she complements it, bringing a unique balance that draws him closer. She embraces her natural strengths, compassion, intuition, resilience, and wisdom without feeling the need to conform to societal pressures that demand she become someone she is not. She is not weak, nor is she passive. She stands firm in her values and beliefs. She knows when to be soft and when to be firm, when to lead and when to support, when to speak and when to listen. This delicate balance of strength and grace captivates a man, making him feel both challenged and deeply valued. Her confidence is unshakable because it comes from within. She does not need validation from others to feel worthy. She does not seek attention or approval, yet she naturally draws admiration. A man is drawn to her because she operates from a place of security rather than insecurity. He sees in her a woman who is grounded, who knows who she is, and who does not waver in the face of challenges. She does not fight for control in a relationship, but understands the power of influence. Her ability to uplift and encourage, to inspire and empower makes her unforgettable. A man does not feel diminished by her presence. Instead, he feels empowered to rise to his fullest potential. This is the kind of strength that captivates and holds a man's heart. A woman who cultivates mystery and depth understands that true attraction is not about revealing everything at once, but allowing herself to be discovered over time. She does not lay all her thoughts, emotions, and experiences on the table immediately. Instead, she unfolds like a beautiful story that keeps a man intrigued and engaged. She knows that men are wired to pursue, to seek, to unravel the depths of something valuable, and she allows this process to happen naturally. She does not feel the need to overshare or prove herself in order to be accepted. She knows that her worth is not in how much she discloses, but in the richness of her character. She speaks with purpose, listens with intent, and engages in conversations that leave a man wanting to know more. She carries an air of confidence, not arrogance, that makes him curious about her world, her thoughts, and her dreams. Her life is not centered around getting attention. Rather, she is focused on growth, purpose, and fulfillment. She has her own passions, her own interests, and her own goals. A man sees that she is a woman of substance, and he finds himself drawn to the depth of her mind and spirit. She is not easily figured out, not because she plays games, but because she is layered with wisdom, experience, and vision. She knows how to engage without overwhelming, how to connect without becoming overly available, and how to give without losing herself. A man who encounters such a woman feels a sense of challenge and excitement. She keeps his interest alive, not by manipulation, but by being a woman of depth, one who is worth pursuing, worth knowing, and ultimately worth loving A woman who shows respect and honor understands that a man thrives in an environment where he feels valued, appreciated, and trusted. She does not belittle or criticize him to make a point. Instead, she speaks with wisdom, choosing words that uplift rather than tear down. She recognizes that respect is not about blind submission, but about acknowledging his strengths, supporting his vision, and affirming his role in her life. She listens with intent, not just waiting for her turn to speak, but genuinely seeking to understand his thoughts, feelings, and aspirations. She does not interrupt or dismiss his ideas, but engages in conversations that encourage him to think deeper and dream bigger. She challenges him in a way that pushes him toward growth, not in a way that makes him feel inadequate. When he feels respected, he is drawn closer to her, knowing that she is a safe place where he can be both strong and vulnerable. She honors him not just in public, but in private. She does not speak negatively about him to others or make him feel small in front of friends or family. Instead, she builds him up, letting him know that she sees his efforts, his sacrifices, and his potential. She expresses gratitude for what he does rather than focusing on what he lacks. A man who feels honored by a woman will go to great lengths to cherish and protect her. Respect is not about submission, it is about partnership. She does not diminish herself to make him feel superior, nor does she attempt to overpower him. She understands the beauty of balance, where both individuals contribute their strengths to create something greater than themselves. This level of respect and honor makes her irreplaceable in his heart, drawing him closer with every interaction. A woman who supports a man without losing herself understands the delicate balance between love and individuality. She is not afraid to stand beside him, uplift him, and encourage his dreams, but she never does so at the cost of her own purpose. She knows that love is not about sacrificing who she is, but about growing together while maintaining her identity. She supports his ambitions, not as a woman who is dependent on him for direction, but as a partner who brings wisdom, insight, and strength. She listens to his dreams, encourages his vision, and stands with him during challenges, but she does not abandon her own passions to fit into his world. She remains committed to her growth, her purpose, and her calling, knowing that a relationship should enhance both lives, not diminish one for the sake of the other. She does not shrink herself to make him feel larger. She does not suppress her voice to keep the peace. She speaks with confidence, expresses her thoughts with clarity, and brings value to every conversation. A man respects a woman who has her own mind, who can challenge him in ways that make him better, and who walks alongside him as a partner, not as a shadow. Her love is not clingy or desperate. It is secure and uplifting. She gives without losing herself, loves without forgetting her worth, and nurtures without depleting her own strength. A man falls deeply for a woman who stands with him, not behind him, who supports him, but also expects to be supported. He admires her independence, values her wisdom, and cherishes the fact that she is a woman of depth, purpose, and vision. This kind of love is powerful, and this kind of woman is unforgettable. A woman who creates a safe emotional space for a man becomes his refuge in a world that often demands strength without allowing vulnerability. She understands that no matter how powerful or confident a man appears, on the outside he carries silent battles, unspoken fears, and hidden wounds. She does not judge him for his struggles, but offers him a place where he can be himself without fear of rejection or ridicule. She listens not just to respond, but to understand. She does not dismiss his feelings or tell him to just get over it. Instead, she validates his emotions, making it clear that he does not have to face everything alone. When he speaks, she gives him her full attention, showing him that his thoughts and emotions matter. A man who feels heard and understood by a woman begins to trust her on a deeper level, opening his heart in ways he never has before. She does not use his vulnerabilities against him. She does not bring up past mistakes to win an argument or make him feel small. Instead, she creates an environment of trust where he knows that his weaknesses will be met with compassion, not criticism. She gives him space to process his emotions at his own pace, allowing him to come to her when he is ready rather than pressuring him to share before he feels safe. She knows when to offer words of encouragement and when to simply sit with him in silence. She does not try to fix everything, but her presence alone becomes a source of comfort. A man who finds this kind of emotional security in a woman will cherish her deeply because he knows that what they share is rare. She is not just a lover, she is a safe haven, and that is a bond that no man wants to lose. A woman who understands her worth, embodies emotional maturity, exudes feminine strength, cultivates mystery, and offers respect, support, and a safe emotional space becomes truly unforgettable. She does not chase love, she attracts it. She does not beg for affection, she commands it through her presence, her wisdom, and her unwavering sense of self. A man does not fall in love with a woman simply because she is beautiful. He falls in love with the way she makes him feel, the peace she brings, and the inspiration she provides. When a woman carries herself with grace, confidence, and purpose, she becomes the kind of woman a man cannot ignore and will never want to lose. She becomes not just someone he desires, but someone he values, cherishes, and chooses every single day. The strongest love is not built on neediness, but on wholeness. A woman who knows her worth will never have to convince a man to love her because the right man will recognize her value without hesitation. Hello, everyone, and welcome back. I'm so grateful you have joined me today, and I can't wait to dive into something that has the power to change your life. There is a lesson that life teaches us time and time again, yet many fail to grasp it. People only value what they think they might lose. When something is too accessible, too common, or too predictable, it is taken for granted. But the moment it disappears, its true worth is revealed. Let me tell you something. Your presence should never be a convenience. You are not a bargain to be picked up when it's easy. You are not an option to be weighed when it suits someone else's preferences. If someone only realizes your value when you're gone, it was never your presence that was the problem. It was their blindness to what was in front of them. You see, scarcity creates demand. The rarest gems are locked away, not laid out in the open for anyone to take. The finest perfumes are in small bottles, not poured out recklessly. And the most powerful people in the world, they're not always available at everyone's beck and call. The principle is simple. What is always available is rarely appreciated. When you give too much, too soon, too easily, you lower your own value. If you have to beg to be seen, if you have to plead to be cherished, if you have to remind someone of your worth, then you are dealing with someone who does not deserve you. And the moment you step away, the moment you reclaim your time, your peace, your energy, that is when the craving begins. That is when regret settles in. That is when the one who took you lightly begins to wonder, what have I lost? But listen to me carefully. Never let your value be defined by someone else's delayed realization. Never wait for someone to lose you before they understand what you bring. A person who cannot appreciate your presence does not deserve to benefit from your absence. People often fail to appreciate what is constantly available to them. It is human nature to overlook the things that are always within reach, assuming they will always be there. The true value of something is often recognized only when it is taken away, leaving behind a void that cannot be ignored. When a person is present every day, offering their love, support, and effort, others may grow accustomed to it. Over time, what was once seen as a gift becomes an expectation, and expectations lead to complacency. Absence has a way of revealing the significance of what was once taken for granted. When someone who was always there suddenly pulls away, it forces others to confront what they have lost. The late night conversations that were once ignored are now deeply missed. The unwavering support that was dismissed as routine is now longed for. The presence that was overlooked becomes a haunting reminder of what was carelessly undervalued. Psychologically, people tend to desire what they cannot have. When something becomes unavailable, the mind begins to attach greater importance to it. This is why nostalgia becomes powerful and why people suddenly realize the depth of their emotions only when faced with absence. Distance breeds reflection. And in that reflection, people begin to grasp what was once overlooked. The reality is that people only make an effort for what they fear losing. When there is no risk of loss, there is no urgency to appreciate. This is why absence is such a powerful teacher. It does not just remind others of value, it forces them to feel it. The weight of absence carries a lesson that presence often fails to teach. And in that lesson, true worth is finally understood. People are naturally drawn to what is rare, exclusive, and difficult to attain. When something is easily accessible, it is often taken for granted. But the moment it becomes scarce, its perceived value rises. This principle applies to everything: luxury goods, opportunities, and even personal relationships. The rarer something is, the more people desire it. In the marketplace, products that are mass-produced and available everywhere rarely create a sense of urgency. However, when an item is labeled as limited edition or only a few left, people rush to secure it before it is gone. The same psychology applies to human relationships. If someone is always available, always saying yes, and always within reach, their presence becomes expected rather than appreciated. There is no sense of urgency to cherish what is constantly there. But when access is restricted, when availability is reduced, interest increases. When a person pulls back, creates boundaries, and becomes selective with their time and energy, others begin to take notice. The very act of not being easily accessible forces people to evaluate what they stand to lose. The illusion of abundance fades and reality sets in. What they once took lightly is now slipping away. This is why those who are always seeking approval, always giving without limits, and always accommodating others often find themselves overlooked. Their constant presence creates a sense of familiarity that leads to diminished appreciation. Scarcity introduces a challenge, and challenges intrigue people. The harder something is to obtain, the more people believe it holds value. This is why those who respect themselves enough to not be readily available command greater admiration. People do not chase what they believe will always be there. They chase what they think they might lose. People treat you based on the standard you set for yourself. When you carry yourself with confidence and an awareness of your worth, others take notice. The way you see yourself teaches people how to see you. If you believe you deserve respect, you will naturally command it, not by force, but by presence. Those who understand their own value do not beg for love, chase after validation, or settle for treatment beneath their dignity. Instead, they walk with a quiet assurance that demands recognition. Respect is not something freely given. It is earned through the way you uphold your standards. When a person compromises too often, tolerates disrespect, or constantly seeks approval, they send the message that their worth is negotiable. But when someone stands firm in their beliefs, refuses to settle, and walks away from anything that does not align with their self-respect, they become someone others admire. The world may not always acknowledge value immediately, but over time, it recognizes strength. People respect what they cannot manipulate, and they admire those who do not bend easily. In relationships, self-worth sets the foundation for how one is treated. If a person allows mistreatment, they will continue to receive it. But when they show that they are not afraid to walk away, when they set clear boundaries and expect to be valued, others are forced to rise to that standard or risk losing them. Those who know their worth do not compete for attention because they understand that what is truly valuable never begs to be noticed. Every interaction is a reflection of the value a person places on themselves. The more someone respects themselves, the more others are compelled to respect them. Those who stand firm in their self-worth become individuals who are not just seen, but truly valued. Emotions have the power to control decisions, influence actions, and determine how people are treated in relationships. The person who is the most emotionally invested often holds the least power, while the one who remains detached controls the dynamic. When someone is too emotionally dependent on another, they become vulnerable to manipulation, disappointment, and imbalance. Their need for validation gives the other person the upper hand, allowing them to dictate the terms of the relationship. Emotional detachment is not about being cold or indifferent. It is about maintaining control over one's own feelings rather than allowing them to dictate behavior. It means being able to walk away when respect is lacking, making decisions based on logic rather than desperation, and refusing to let another person's actions determine self-worth. When someone masters the ability to detach emotionally, they become less reactive, less needy, and more confident in their own independence. This shifts the power in their favor because they are no longer driven by fear of loss. People are naturally drawn to those who do not seek validation from them. When someone is indifferent to whether they are accepted or rejected, they become more intriguing. The moment a person stops chasing, stops begging for attention, and stops reacting emotionally to mistreatment, the dynamic changes. The one who once held control begins to question their influence, and the one who detached gains the upper hand. In relationships, the ability to detach emotionally forces others to evaluate their own actions. It creates an environment where respect must be earned rather than assumed. The person who remains centered, unaffected by emotional highs and lows, and secure within themselves commands greater influence. Emotional detachment is not about a lack of feeling. It is about ensuring that feelings do not dictate self-worth or decision. Distance has a way of making people see things more clearly. When someone is constantly present, their value can be overlooked. But the moment they create space, their absence forces others to reflect. Space creates an opportunity for people to think, evaluate, and truly understand what they once had. It is in the silence that realizations occur. When a person steps back, it disrupts the rhythm of familiarity. The daily conversations, the expected messages, the routine presence all suddenly disappear. This absence creates a void that demands attention. The mind starts to replay past interactions, analyzing moments that were once ignored. The very things that were taken for granted become the very things that are missed. Reflection is often triggered by loss, whether temporary or permanent. When someone is always available, there is little reason to think deeply about their impact. But when they are no longer there, the mind begins to question, were they more important than I realized? Did I appreciate them enough? This process often brings clarity, making people see what they failed to acknowledge before. Space also provides an opportunity for self-reflection. It allows both parties to evaluate their roles, actions, and emotions without the noise of constant interaction. Sometimes stepping back helps one recognize unhealthy patterns, while for others it strengthens the understanding of what truly matters. Either way, distance forces a deeper level of awareness that presence alone cannot always achieve. People rarely reflect when things are readily available. They reflect when something is missing. Space forces the mind to slow down and process what was once overlooked. It reveals truths that were hidden beneath routine. And in doing so, it creates an opportunity for growth, realization, and often a renewed sense of appreciation. When something or someone is always available, their presence becomes expected rather than cherished. Dependency creates an environment where appreciation fades because the mind begins to view what is constant as ordinary. When there is no risk of loss, There is no urgency to value what is present. This is why people often fail to see the worth of what they have until it is no longer within reach. Dependency shifts the balance in relationships. When one person relies too heavily on another, whether emotionally, financially, or for validation, they unknowingly diminish their own value in the eyes of the other. The one who is always available, always saying yes, always seeking to please, slowly loses the respect they once commanded. What was once admired as dedication can start to feel like obligation. What was once seen as love can begin to feel like neediness. When people become too comfortable with someone's presence, they stop putting in effort. They assume that no matter how they behave, the other person will always be there. This lack of effort leads to neglect, and neglect leads to a loss of appreciation. The giver, in their attempt to secure love and connection, unknowingly makes themselves invisible. Instead of being seen as valuable, they become part of the background, present, but unnoticed. The healthiest relationships are built on mutual respect, not one-sided dependency. When both individuals maintain their independence and sense of self-worth, they bring value to the relationship rather than seeking to extract it. A person who does not need constant validation or reassurance is more likely to be respected and cherished. It is not absence alone that makes the heart grow fonder. It is the awareness that someone is strong enough to walk away if they are not valued. Dependency suffocates appreciation, while self-sufficiency commands respect. Not everyone should have unlimited access to you. Your time, energy, and presence are valuable, and those who take them for granted should not be allowed to benefit from them freely. When something is easily obtained, it is often undervalued. But when it is rare, selective, and comes with a standard, it is treated with the respect it deserves. People respect what they have to work for. When your presence is given without boundaries, when you are always available, when you allow others to treat you as an afterthought, they will see you as one. But when you hold yourself to a higher standard, when you choose who gets your time, who benefits from your energy, and who earns the right to be close to you, you establish your worth without saying a word. When people believe they can have you at any moment, they stop putting in effort. They stop appreciating what you bring because they assume you will always be there. But when you create space, when you show that your presence is not guaranteed, it forces them to recognize your value. It makes them understand that being in your life is not a right, but a privilege. This is not about arrogance. It is about self-respect. It is about knowing that your presence is a gift, and gifts are not given to just anyone. The people who truly value you will rise to meet your standards. They will put in effort. They will show appreciation, and they will never take you for granted. The ones who do not, they were never meant to have access to you in the first place. Your presence should be earned, and only those who recognize its worth should be allowed to experience it. The greatest lesson in life is this: you teach people how to treat you by the way you value yourself. If someone only craves you when you are gone, let that be proof that they never truly valued you when you were present. Do not lower your worth to fit into spaces where you are taken for granted. Your presence is a privilege, not a convenience. Stop begging to be seen. Stop proving your worth to those who refuse to recognize it. Step back, create space, and watch how quickly people realize what they have lost. But by then, it should be too late. True value is not determined by absence or regret. It is defined by self-respect. Those who fail to cherish you in your presence do not deserve the privilege of your return.